I just wanted to expand on something that I talked a little bit about in a previous video, and that's Hasbro's earnings being down and Hasbro showing a loss. At the third quarter meeting, Chris Cox, the CEO of Hasbro, said that consumers are showing a resistance to higher toy prices. The average consumer has become more price sensitive as the year has progressed. Net revenue for the quarter was $1.68 billion, which was down 15% from the third quarter in 2021. Hasbro conducted a 9-month-long strategic review that has resulted in a new game plan called Blueprint 2.0 for Hasbro toy sales manufacturer and what they're going to focus on. The new blueprint prioritizes bottom line growth and shifts Hasbro's focus to fewer, bigger, and more profitable toy brands, while turning smaller, less profitable brands into licensed properties that can be manufactured and sold by other toy makers. Take Super 7, for instance. Super 7 made the Reaction line. They licensed GI Joe to make the Reaction line of 5 POA figures. Supposedly, Super 7 wanted to do O-ring figures, and Hasbro said, no, we're not going to license it out to do something that we can do ourselves. But yet you have Super 7 cranking out all of these different figures, all this assortment of product. And Hasbro, with the O-ring line, is falling way behind. They've only put out a few 2-packs and the retro Stinger with the driver. They've included a couple of O-ring figures, Baroness and Stalker, with the Transformers crossover sets, which they've not publicized at all. These things were mentioned like once. Something that people like me have dreamt of and wanted since we were kids. A huge, innovative product. They're not pushing it. So, do they just not care? Or what? Imagine if Super 7 had gotten to do O-ring figures and started pumping out product like they did with the 5 POA Reaction figures. Imagine what the market would look like if they had cranked out O-ring figures in that capacity. The bigger brands that Hasbro plans to focus on going forward include Magic the Gathering, Hasbro Gaming, like Avalon Hill, Nerf, Dungeons and Dragons, which we've seen a few of those figures start to come out. I'm not really sure what they're going to do. New animated series. I know there's a new Dungeons and Dragons movie coming out. Transformers, Peppa Pig, and Play-Doh. Well, guess what's missing from that list? A property that Hasbro owns. They don't pay any licensing fees for it. Hasbro owns GI Joe. GI Joe is a more profitable product for them, or could be, than lines like Star Wars or Marvel Legends, where they have to pay licensing fees to Disney. Hasbro has said that a number of exciting releases that will fuel growth in the fourth quarter include the re-release of the Black Lotus card for the Magic the Gathering game, making it available for the first time in over 25 years. So the Black Lotus was a big deal, and it's an extremely highly collectible card for the Magic the Gathering sets. It's one of the original cards, and they're going to re-release this for use in modern gaming. Not really sure exactly how that's supposed to increase profitability and whatnot, unless it's a limited card that they put in randomly for packs or whatever, and it's not necessarily part of a main set that you can just buy. It was announced just a few weeks ago that, at least in the UK, the G.I. Joe property was going to become a Hasbro Pulse exclusive only. Retailers were not going to be having these on their shelves, and it doesn't sound like other online retailers are going to be selling G.I. Joe products in the UK. As we know, most of the figures have been popping up in the UK before they've been popping up here. I know several other collectors who have been purchasing from UK websites that have gotten product faster than what they could get them from Hasbro Pulse, or what they could get them from Target or Amazon or other retailers here in the United States. Speaking of which, Hasbro just, I guess, released through Amazon the new Transformers G.I. Joe Awe Striker with Stalker. His tank with Baroness just started shipping out, and they're already releasing this one too. The distributor that I use, I don't even have my his tanks with Baroness yet. There's no sign of them coming in. They're not due until February of next year. Supposedly, I mean, I did just get $5,000 worth of product dumped in my lap that wasn't expected until sometime next year. So I'm wondering if I'm going to end up getting the Hiss and the Awestriker at the same time, which that's fine. I want both of them personally. I've already had one of the Hiss tanks that I showed you all in a review, but distribution seems to be such a mess with this line, and it seems like other lines aren't suffering nearly as much from distribution woes as what GI Joe is. Could GI Joe become a Pulse exclusive only in the United States? Would it be that bad if it did? If it was only available through Pulse? I mean, look at the Target exclusive line. We've been waiting a year, over a year. October 23rd was the day that it released on Target for Outback, the Battle Android Trooper, and the Viper. Over a year ago today. And today's Halloween, by the way. Happy Halloween to you all. We've waited on these figures. I could see GI Joe becoming a Pulse exclusive line. No hunting in stores, no dealing with pre-orders getting pushed back or surprise charges or whatever. Hasbro Pulse seems to stick to their dates fairly decent, in a fairly decent way. I wouldn't have a problem with it being a Pulse exclusive line altogether. As a matter of fact, all but Baroness and Stalker for the O-Ring line have been Hasbro Pulse exclusives, and it's worked out very well. If they stop making G.I. Joe altogether, a very profitable line that has more than once saved Hasbro from bankruptcy, if they do move to a licensing-only line, is there a chance that we could possibly see a company like Super 7 make an O-Ring retro line, or another company take over the Classified series? I really don't want to see that. I like the figures that they're pushing out for Classified, even though the Classified figures have no context, and it's literally just dependent upon the nostalgia of 40-year-old dudes to know what these figures are. There's no file cards, there's no information or anything like that on the boxes with the characters. It's just we know who they are, and they're cranking them out for us. It's fan service for us guys that are for us that are older, that had these when we were kids. And they've definitely moved to making just 6-inch versions of figures that we already have. We already have most of these figures in 3 3/4 and 4-inch. Let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, check out the description for useful links to Amazon sales, Facebook groups, and my eBay store and whatnot. And I will see you soon with another review and unboxing, or just a toy talk little session like this. Thanks for watching, guys. Yo, Joe.